Dear dear friends, Assalamu alaikum. We meet today. Today is 6th of November of the year 2022 for Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, while in Tirana should be November 5th, 2022. So today I'm with my old friend and colleague, Mr. Gjergji and Olsi. Today we are going to discuss about the latest adventure of the Albanian government with Mojahedeens. So today we're going to discuss about the latest situation in Albania. For many of you who observe the happenings in Albania, is that since the summer of 2002, Albanian cyber services, they have been hacked by some mysterious hackers who our Albanian government and the Americans claim to be Iranians. These hackers, they have opened a website and they have a Telegram group. Their Telegram group is called Homeland Justice. And since the summer of 2002, these hackers are sending different messages to the government of Albania, where in a way the hackers, they are protesting the fact that Albania has become a host country of an ex-terrorist organization known as Mojahedeens al-Hal. In September 2022, these hackers, they committed one of the most spectacular hacking in the history of the modern cyber warfare. They took over all government institutions of Albania. They took over the border checking points of Albania, the land border, the air borders, and the sea borders of the country. They have taken over so many government institutions, the offices which issue passports for Albanians, and so forth. The hackers, it seems that they have declared an open cyber warfare against the government of Albania, since September are continuously releasing classified information from Albanian security services. In September 2022, if I'm not wrong, they released the personal emails of our Prime Minister, Edi Rama, of the Minister of Interior, of Minister of Defense, and most importantly, they released the personal email archives of Albania's chief counter-terrorism police and chief of police, Mr. Gledis Nano. In the emails that the hackers released, the Albanian public was able, and the international public as well, was able to read and to understand many dirty dealings that Albanian security services do. In the emails that were released, among others, someone could read the names and messages of different US officials and their orders that they were giving to the Albanian police.
And also Israelis.
Many Israeli officials, Israelis who work for Mossad, for Herzliya, or the International Institute of Counterterrorism, which is based in Tel Aviv in the Herzliya Center, and many emails and manuals that these Israeli officials were sending to the Albanian police in order to direct the Albanian police in a fight against the political Islam, which means against the Palestinian resistance, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Syrians, and most importantly, against Iran. The hackers, they have continued to leak documents to their Telegram channel. These documents are being taken by Albanian journalists and they are being published. And since September, Albania is living in a state of panic. Classified state secrets are being revealed. The opposition is is protesting every week against the prime minister and the government of Edi Rama. The hackers, they have released the information about the charter flights that Prime Minister Edi Rama uses for his personal trips. They have released so many documents, and the most important leaks that the hackers have leaked recently were the names and the database of people who work for the Albanian secret service known as SHIK. Previously, the hackers, they released the names, the databases of Albanian counterterrorism police. So in few words, Albania has no more secrets. The hackers, whom our prime minister and the Americans claim to be Iranians, are leaking everything. And in their leaks, they tell to our prime minister and to our government that since you are hosting the Mujahedeen terrorists who fight against the Islamic Republic of Iran, we are leaking these documents. To analyze what is going on in Albania, I invite my friend Gjergji and Olsi, who is in Durrës, Albania, to give us a better resume of what is going on. Gjergji, you can continue.
Well, it's not important what those hackers, let us take for granted that they are Iranians. Nobody knows whether they are Iranians, Chinese, or Russians, or from Zimbabwe, but let us take for granted they are Iranians. So nobody knows what these hackers have done in the Albanian e-system. They have penetrated everywhere. Up to now, we know that they have penetrated and they have stolen every bit of data, terabytes and terabytes of data from e-Albania, meaning they have everything we Albanians do through electronic means with our state, passports, birth certificates, everything. They have penetrated the Ministry of Interior. They took control of the cameras at every cross-border point, and especially in Durrës. All the cameras of the headquarters, police headquarters in Durrës, were under their control, and they have stolen everything stored in the system of the. So they penetrated Albania. They penetrated the Ministry of Interior. They penetrated at least the cameras of the port of Durrës, the main port. And this is important because in February 2022, Port of Durrës signed an agreement with a four-star general, a certain Jones, American general, and his company, Jones International, to help our port to protect itself from cyber threats. As far as we know, they have penetrated the General Directorate of Transports, meaning they have and they published all the registration plate numbers of the Albanian cars, the owners of the cars, the make of the cars, the year of production of the cars, and this is very important. They have penetrated also our Secret Service computers. I don't know how deep, but I believe a lot. And our premier, a month ago or so, boasted that they hadn't penetrated our Secret Service. Well, he also hinted that Americans have helped us to protect this computer system, so it was unpregnable. It resulted quite pregnable. They have penetrated our Ministry of Defense. The only thing they have not penetrated yet is maybe the division of street sweepers in the town of Durrës, the municipality of Durrës. This is the irony, of course. What is the problem? Why it is important? It is not important only that it shows that Albania state is like a ramshackled cabin, not a solid state. No. It is important for two main reasons. First, Albania does not export security, but it becomes a security nuisance to our allies, meaning the other NATO members. One thing. Second thing, Albania risks to slide into anarchy, something similar to what we experienced in the year 1997. Nobody else has dared say it or even conceived it but me. This is not boasting, it is a reality. Why I am saying this? Let us call the Iranian hackers, I believe, sent a message to Premier Rama to capitulate, and I believe they offered him very generous capitulation terms. Very generous. Our Premier, being stupid, self-conceited, and so on and so forth, refused. At first, he put his deputy prime minister, one of the geishas in his cabinet, to say that we are Armstronging MEK, meaning the Iranian ex-terrorists at Ashraf 3 camp. We are limiting their activity, blah, blah, blah. But then he went to Israel and there he talked to everybody, premier, acting premier, president, the head of cybersecurity of Israel, etc., etc., and he got assurances that Israelis will have. And to tell the truth, the Jews are top-notch in the world regarding cybersecurity. Even the chief of cybersecurity of ex-premier, now again Premier Netanyahu, Bibi, had a tete-a-tete meeting with our Premier Rama, and he promised to invest in this is good and bad. It is good because if Jews come here, it is to hire the best of the best. But this means that every secret of our state, I mean, every material contained in these electronic stuff, will be property of the state of Israel too. First. Second, we shall pay out of our pocket for this security. And we have paid close to 200 million euros to have this electronic system, this e-Albanian, the other systems. If we take into account the other systems, over 200 million euros. So 200 became, thanks to these hackers, a piece of toilet paper.
Okay, Gjergji,
very precious toilet paper.
Yeah, let me just make a resume for our viewers. So Albania was came under massive cyber attack in September 2022. Our prime minister, I don't know with whom he was consulted. He claims that he was consulted with the Microsoft Security and the Americans. They came into conclusion that Iranians had hacked Albania. Now, as a counter response, our prime minister, he severed the diplomatic relations with Iran, and he expelled from the country the Iranian embassy. Even though until this very moment, no scientific document has been shown to prove that it was the Iranians who hacked Albania, this is the official narrative that we get in our country. So since September 2022, Albania, in a way, has declared an unofficial war against the Islamic Republic of Iran. Prime Minister
Excuse me. Excuse me, this is passé. This is past tense. Let us speak about the present. The present is much more difficult and dangerous than that past tense, that passé.
Yes, but I just want to make a resume for our viewers who are going to see this video, and probably they do not understand what is going on. So the Prime Minister claimed that Iran hacked, he expelled the Iranian embassy, he went to the media, he said that Iranians wanted to hack us, but we had the support of the Americans, and they didn't do any damage to us, and everything is fine. But what we as the Albanian public have learned in the past months is that whoever are the hackers, they have taken over all the cyber state infrastructure of Albania, number one. Number two is during the early weeks of September, Edi Rama was calling on Western governments. He said that I was thinking even to invoke the 5th chapter of NATO and to go to war against Iran for the cyber attack that they did to us. But what we are learning now in October and in November is that either the Americans nor the Europeans gave any support to Albania. In an interview that Prime Minister Edi Rama had with a Report TV with Sokol Bala, who is the ex-husband of his deputy prime minister, Edi Rama claimed that, I mean, we hosted MEC in Albania because Americans asked us to host MEC, but Americans, they didn't protect us from Iran. And then in October, we had Prime Minister Edi Rama, who went to Strasbourg, to the European Parliament, and then he went to Berlin, to the Congress of the Social Democratic Parties, and he was begging Europeans for help in his Don Quixote war against Iran. Europeans and the Americans, to this very moment, they have given no help to Albania. And it seems that many European officials have talked to Prime Minister Edi Rama, you hosted MEC, you thought that you are strong enough that you can go to conflict with Iran. Now, good for you, good luck, you don't have our support. And in the last interviews that Prime Minister Edi Rama is doing in Albania, but even in Europe, he is complaining, like he complained in this Social Democratic Congress. He said, we are fighting for the West, and nobody is helping us economically. So because of the cyber attack, as you mentioned, Albania has lost millions of dollars, number one. Number two is, now the government of Albania is understanding the grave mistake that it did by hosting MEC. And since September, the deputy prime minister, what, you disagree?
Our premier is not mature enough to understand the grave danger he is in. No, he is not mature enough. He has not realized what he faces yet.
But at least it seems that Edi Rama is in a panic mode, because he's understanding that Americans are not helping him in his war, his stupid war against Iran. U.S. Embassy in Tirana, if I'm not wrong, in September, they came with a declaration. They said, they told to Rama, you hosted MEC, you took them on humanitarian basis. It is your responsibility what MEC does. And now, the deputy prime minister of Albania, Belinda Baloku, who is the friend or girlfriend, or I don't know what the prime minister has her, she came out with a declaration to the media by claiming that she had told to the Mojahedeens, you came to Albania for humanitarian reasons, so please don't involve yourselves in politics. But what is going on is that MEC throughout 2022, 2021, even in this very moment that we're speaking, they're continuing their cyber, online, and physical war against the Islamic Republic. And what we are hearing in the media, in Albanian media, is that there is a general panic. We're having Albanians who work for secret services or analysts who claim Ervin Karamucha and others who are screaming and yelling in the media, and they're saying what Iran is doing to us, we didn't witness since 1997. So there is a feeling of panic in Albania. There is a feeling of panic in the anti-terror police, in the security services for what the hackers are doing. Because in a way, they are bringing the Albanian state naked. Now we know every spy in Albania, we know his name, we know his details, we know every counterterrorism police. And at least what I understood from the interview that Prime Minister Edi Rama had with the ex-husband of his deputy Prime Minister Belinda Baluku, in a way he was complaining. He said, look, we hosted the Mojahedeens because Americans told us, but Americans now are not helping us. Can you comment on this, please?
Well, first of all, things are much more difficult than they seem. Premier Rama thought that he could have a free of charge lunch. There are no free of charge lunches. He thought that by hosting MAC here, he will reap only profit without paying anything. Now he's paying, all the Albanians are paying. Yet I have a hunch that Premier Rama thinks that only the rank and file Albanians are paying, he to pay personally. He's wrong. As a custom officer, I understand what does it mean to have the control of the cameras of the port of tours. What does it mean? The Iranian hackers, that I'll call them Iranians, have all the footage the cameras have recorded in the container terminal, meaning tons and tons of cocaine have been entering Albania through this terminal in cargoes of pineapple, bananas, poultry, etc., etc. And a lot of times these quantities of cocaine are taken from the containers using a method called rip-off, meaning the cameras have recorded the faces of the person. We shall have a kind of civil war among the clans, Albanian mafia clans, because these faces means that somebody will talk. These faces recorded by the cameras mean that they have divided the money with police, with the security of the Albanian security force securing the Albanian port of Durrës, with the secret service, with members of parliament, etc., etc. Imagine what will happen if the footage of the cameras have recorded becomes public. What will Drugs Enforcement Agency office in Athens do? Can American embassy and American ambassador Madame Kim protect anymore Rama if such footage becomes public? One thing. Second, imagine if they have all the materials regarding our prisons and penitentiary institutions. Prisoners denouncing other prisoners that they receive they receive drugs, they receive cell phones in the prison, denouncing officers, police officers, also police officers denouncing one and the other. This means that we shall have very chaotic situations in our prisons. Next, imagine if not only the members of the Secret Service, but also the spies, meaning the people they have recruited their job, become public. Imagine if I learn that my neighbor or my colleague at work is a spy, And imagine if what is informed the Secret Service becomes public. Their lives are in danger. Then we shall have another backlash from the organized crime. And organized crime in Albania also is very powerful. We are very international as organized crime. From Ecuador to London, from London to Odessa in Ukraine, in Turkey, in the Balkans, of course, in Rotterdam, also cultivating cannabis in Spain, but also in Portugal, etc., etc. If these information become public, will be everybody against everybody. The civil servants of the Albanian state cannot work anymore. That's why I'm saying that we are heading towards a total anarchy of the year 1997. The only member of the Premier Rama cabinet, Minister Peleshi, defense minister, only Minister Peleshi, the defense minister, is thinking clearly. He is urging the training of the Albanian pilots for helicopters. He is urging the repairment of our helicopters, Cougar, Super Puma, but also F-105, received as a donation second-hand helicopters from Germany. Even ancient Augusta Bell helicopters we received 25 ago from Italy. Even them, Peleshi wants even them to be repaired. This means he is thinking of an evacuation by helicopter. The only person thinking clearly. And this is not, how can I say, creating panic. No, I'm telling the truth. Just like in March 2008, when a few hours before the explosion of Gjergji, I went public and I warned of an explosion. Albania is risking a lot. That woman, the US ambassador, Madame Kim, should think of a Silver Wake Operation Beast. Operation Silver Wake Beast. Only Premier Rama is not understanding how grave the situation is. I shall give some catchwords, and I hope working for Premier Rama and to die for them. The first set of catchwords is Operazione Arcobaleno. The second is Silver Wake Beast, and the third is General Fabian Ver and the dictator of the ex-dictator of Filipino Ferdinand Marcos. I hope you will manage to decipher, to decode the message I just gave. I invite the Counterterrorism Directorate to sue me, as they have tried from 2019 for creating panic, for distributing or putting into motion false news, etc., etc. But the situation is grave. We are creating a security problem for the other NATO members. By the way, I would also remind Premier Rama of another premier, a British premier, an English premier called William Pitt. When Napoleon was setting up his military camp at Boulogne, British generals were scratching their heads how to defend London in case of landing of Napoleon's army on the British soil. William Pitt was much more clever than his general. We are a maritime power. We are a very wealthy country, but we are not. We have not a land army. So we shall not defend London on the banks of Thames River. We shall defend London on the banks of Danube River. I believe the dictator of Russia, Vladimir Putin, will not defend Kherson or whatever, Donbass, on the banks of the Dnieper River. He might defend Donbass, Kherson, and the like on the banks of, on the shores of Adriatic. This is my reasoning. I invite the guys of counterterrorism to sue me, but I forewarn them that thanks to the hackers, I have their names, their family members, their telephone numbers, addresses of their flats and houses, also their registration numbers, anything. And if I put these together and I publish them, and if I send this information to every police force of Europe, I mean European Union and NATO, and also NATO, using official email addresses they have, nobody will cooperate with our counter-terrorism directorate of our police. Now, nobody is cooperating with our secret service because they are considered unreliable partners. Unreliable partners. This is the debacle. I invite Premier Rama not to take any more stuff, to clean his head and to be responsible. The situation cannot be faced with a bunch of geishas and a bunch of samurais with miniskirts, members of his government. He should take action. The Iranian, I'm calling them Iranian, the Iranian hackers have a lot of materials. If they use such materials, such stuff wisely, they can create problems not to us Albanians, but also to Premier Rama himself. I doubt Madam Ambassador Kim will send a Rama and his Minister of Interiors, Mr. Chuchi, assist Stalin to evacuate them as the U.S. or General Fabian Ver and President communicate to the body of Albania. As a good doctor, he should do everything because he has every kind of power. Berisha, ex-premier, ex-president, Mehta, ex-premier, speaker of parliament, ex-president, have no real power. So Mr. Rama should think how he should cure the ulcer called MEK or Ashraf 3 camp, or what the Iranians call them, Monatekim. Otherwise, the ulcer will be a cancer grow. Cancers are terrible, sometimes lethal.
Gjergji, your internet connection is horrible. Your voice is cutting, your image is cutting. I don't know what's wrong with your internet, but let me make you a final question, and let's hope that we can have this discussion at another time when you have a better internet connection. Now, when was it? In July 2002, when I was in Albania, both of us, we sent a letter to the president, to the prime minister, to the National Security Council of Albania, where we were publicly asking the top officials of Albania if Albania is at reason why we sent this letter was in a way to make our government understand the critical situation that the security of our country was. Why? Because Albania, as me personally, I'm saying in the media since the year 2016, and I would presume you probably since 2017 or 18, we are continuously warning our government in Albania. We are telling to it that by hosting MEC, by hosting a terrorist organization. Afghanistan in the time of Mullah Omar, when the Taliban were hosting Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden. Our officials have continuously ignored our interviews, our articles, our writings, our declarations, but finally, in 2022, whatever we have said in the past proved to be right. Albania has created so much hostility with Iran. This is official, coming even from Tehran itself. Now, as probably maybe we are close to World War III, and by seeing the success of the Iranian drones on bombing Ukraine, there are many people who are questioning what will Iran do next. Now, we have seen videos coming from Iranian medias where, in a way, Iranians, in a way, maybe not directly, but indirectly, are threatening the Mujahideen camp of Manza, which is located in Albania. Let us say if worst comes to worst and Albania will be attacked by drones from Iran, maybe if, let us say, if the Mojahedeens carry a terrorist act in Iran and Iran going to defend Albania. In the latest interviews that our prime minister is doing with local medias in Albania, he keeps on saying that we are a NATO member country, NATO is going to defend us, and so forth. Now, from my reading of NATO's history, NATO doesn't necessarily intervene to help countries that do troubles. For example, we had the case of Turkey and Syria in 2015, if I'm not wrong, when Turkey was attacked by Syria, and in the time the Turkish government demanded that NATO intervenes on behalf of Turkey. NATO didn't intervene. Now, my question to you is, if Iran decides to drone the Mujahideen camp, number one is, can Albania protect itself from Iran? And number two, what do you think? Will NATO go into World War III and to declare war against Iran?
Okay, first, and this is important, I am a fan of America, and I try to borrow ideas from America. One of the ideas is America first. For me, it is Albania first. I believe every drop of blood of an Albanian is very precious. That's why I try to investigate the death of an Albanian within the camp, Ashraf 3 camp of MEK in Manos. It was an accidental death, but there are a lot of question marks regarding such a death. So every drop of blood of the Albanians is very precious to me. Albania first. I don't care about the blood of the ex-terrorist called Mojahedeens. I don't care. I'm very direct about it. I am very pro-American and I borrow from them. Second, if our premier believes that NATO will protect us, there are a lot of stupid Albanians who believe it. I remind them of a saying, it's not worth dying for dancing. It was in 1939 that saying. Premier Rama, think about it. Another thing, let us suppose NATO has the will to protect us from Iranian drones or even Iranian missiles, which is not very much probable. The Iranian drones have the range and the payload, meaning Iran has the capability to attack Albania, to bomb high-value targets in Albania, in Durrës, in Tirana. And there is no protection in the NATO country called Estonia, or what is there is little to none protection on the airspace of another NATO country called Bulgaria. Romania is something else. Turkey is something else. But Turkey is a very big country. It's not Israel, so not every square mile of the airspace of Turkey is covered by anti-aircraft defenses. These are small, the drones are small, they fly low. It is very difficult even for phased radars to track on them, let alone to direct surface-to-air missiles. And such drones, being cheap, are used in packs, not one drone. It is a kind of swarm attack. So, technically speaking, it is very difficult to protect Albania, even if NATO decides to protect Albania as a high-value target. It's very difficult. Don't forget something else. I hope somebody tells this to our Premier, Rama, that Iran, if Iran decides to do this, uses a lot of, and if he uses proxies, this means that even such weak air defenses will be almost non-existent. I will use only one word as a riddle, tarabulus, tarabulus. So if we speak of Iranian proxies, think of tarabulus. Agree, Mr. Rama? Think of tarabulus. Almost no air defenses, no Tinkodaroga class missile cruisers with Aegis-based radar and things. Forget about it. Forget. So we are defenseless against an attack by missiles and especially by drones. Even drones armed with only 4 anti-tank missiles can do a lot of damage, plus the panic and things like this. I hope the Iranians do not attack us. They have threatened us, but I hope they do not attack us. I also hope that even if they attack Ashraf 3 camp, as an Albanian patriot, I hope not one drop of Albanian blood is wasted. Albanian blood is very precious to me. I'm not here to speak politically correct. Let Rama raves politically correct. No. Albanian blood is precious. Ex-terrorist blood is not precious to me. That's it. You may call me whatever. Even if I go to court, I will say ex-terrorist blood is not precious to me. Of course, I want to protect their human rights there in the camp because it is grossly violated by Rajavi cult, but those ex-terrorists should defect from that horrible cult, Rajavi cult. They should live their lives free, even in Tirana, let alone return to Iran or go somewhere in Europe. Even in Tirana, Tirana is capital of a European country, rather free, nice weather and things like this. They can live well there. Of course, they cannot live as agazadeh, a Persian word, but they can have their lives in Tirana. They should defect. It is a dead cause, this of Rajavi. It is daydreaming regime change in Tehran. Regime change cannot come from Rajavi. Rajavi can create problems to present government in Iran, but she cannot change the regime.
Gjergji, 1 second. 1 second. Your discussion is very interesting, but I have terrible problem with your internet connection. Can you switch off the camera? No, hold on. Can you switch off the camera and just to leave the voice on? Because your connection is very bad. So if you can close the camera and...
Yeah, I switch it off. I switched it off.
Okay, I think now I can hear you better. So I propose we continue our discussion without your camera. Are you okay
Okay.
with are you okay with that?
Anyway, I'm not good looking, so the people, the viewers will lose very little.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much for that. Now I can hear you very well, and the discussion is much better. Now I have another question. These days, as we are having riots in Iran, the riots seem to be quite serious. What we see from the media, we see members of the Basij, police officers, but even mullahs who are being killed by thugs in different cities of Iran. My question is, what do you think is the role of the Mujahideen in what is happening in Iran now?
What I will say to you is not a secret, or it is what the Italians call il segreto di Pulcinella. This camp in Manos is not doing only cyber warfare in the sense propaganda. It is doing much more than this. They are pouring petrol on the fire. They are paying money to people. They contact via internet to commit, how can I say, to break the Iranian law, beginning from showing posters or slogans against the government of Iran, or photos of Masoud Rajavi and Miriam Rajavi, the leaders of the cult, and they pay around 400 euros for this. They use Western Union to Turkey, and then they use the system called Havala to transfer the money to Iran, which is not little money in Iran, because if you work in a very simple job, you get 200, 250 euros. 400 euros is 2 months for displaying a picture of Miriam Rajavi or a poster against the regime and things like this. But they pay at least 6,000 euros if somebody hurls a Molotov cocktail against the madrasa, school training imams, against a mosque, against the building of a law court, against the walls or the gate of barracks of Revolutionary Guard, Pasdaran, or Bashi militia, and the like. And this is act of terror because it is something to show the portrait of Mariam Rajavi and to hurl a Molotov cocktail or to make at home explosives using ingredients bought at the local supermarkets. And this is problematic. Iran has got problems. There are poor people, even in the big cities, and 4,000 or even 6,000 euros is a lot. It is almost 2 years of the salary of a primary school teacher. Imagine I am a young teacher at school and I'm offered 20 months or 2 years of salary only to hurl a Molotov cocktail or a homemade explosive device against the walls of or the gate of barracks of Bashi militia or to set on fire madrasa. The risk is low, the payment is very good. But this is warfare, this is not politics, this is not propaganda. That's why Iran considers them a security threat to the regime, to Iran, to Iranian people, whatever. You say whatever you want. And Iran has a rich history of dealing with security threats. I hope those who govern Albania, maybe also those who are in opposition and hope to come to power, realize that Iran has a rich history in dealing with security threats, not only within the borders of Iran, but also abroad, not only in what they call near abroad. I hope somebody understands this. I'm not threatening Premier. I'm trying to open his eyes. He should realize and face the risks. I don't care about his personal faith. I care about my Albanians. I am an Albanian patriot. That's why I have been shouting with all my force against MEK, that Rajavi cult. Not because I hate them. I feel pity for most of the members of the cult, poor Serbs. They are half slaves, they are Serbs. But I am an Albanian patriot. They are a security problem to my country and to our allies, other members of NATO. That's it.
Gjergji, one moment. Number one, your voice now that you close the camera is much better. But I have a technical request. Can you go somewhere where you have better internet now? You can move because you are not in the camera, but I want you to go somewhere where you have better internet reception so that your voice doesn't cut, because still is cutting sometimes. And number two is I want you to elaborate a bit further, because before you were telling to us that the Mojahedeens from Albania, they are paying people in Iran to commit acts of terror. Now we have Prime Minister Rama and his deputy prime minister, who they have gone to the Mojahedeens and they have told them that you came to Albania on humanitarian asylum. Now, what you are saying is that Mojahedeens are still using the Albanian soil to commit acts of terror against a foreign country. If such acts will be carried by an Albanian, of course the counter-terrorism police will immediately arrest these Albanians and will send them to court, and they will be jailed 15 years as terrorists. Now, I have two questions to you. Are you following me?
Yes, I'm following you.
Okay, now your voice is perfect. So I have two questions. Question number one is, why the counter-terrorism police, they do not act to stop the Mojahedeens from doing such actions, number one. And number two is, while, at least from my point of view, our prime minister is feeling the pinches. He's feeling that, look, these Iranians, they are not some Arabs or some Talibans in Afghanistan with whom we can do anything we want. They are proving to Albania and to Americans and to NATO, if we take it for granted that the hackers were Iranians, they can hit you back. And moreover, with the recent war in Ukraine, we have seen what the Iranian technology of war can do to a conflict with a country that is backed by NATO, which is Ukraine. Now, the second question that I have is our Prime Minister Edi Rama understanding what and where he's heading Albania to? I mean, by allowing the Mojahedeens to use the Albanian soil to carry terrorist actions against a foreign country, the regime of Edi Rama is turning Albania into a target in a war which does not belong to the Albanians. What is your answer to that, please?
First of all, nobody knows what the agreement to bring MEK to Albania contains. Nobody knows. We know only that they have come here as persons in need of protection. It is an annex of the Convention of Geneva, but nothing else. What are their rights and what are their duties? Albania is not Ottoman Empire of the late 19th century, the Sea of Bosphorus, the Sea of Adriatic Sea. Absolutely. There is no capitulation to those Mujahideen. They are subject to Albanian laws, they are subject to Albanian justice. But they are plundering Albanian laws, they are avoiding Albanian justice. And they have been several cases of them indicted for forgery, for money laundering, for drug running, even for burglary. And maximum, they have experienced is a fortnight in jail, a Mujahedeen woman who was caught in Korcha with forged passports. If you and me, Albanian citizens, try to use forged passports or to run drugs or even to commit a burglary, we end for years and years in prison. Meaning, this is animals' farm. All animals in Albania are equal, but some animals, MEK, Rajavika, are more equal than the other animals, meaning this is shameful. This is shameful. We are treating in our country worse than the fellahs were treated in Egypt before the pact, Anglo-Egyptian pact, where the British Empire gave or allowed Egypt to have independence. We are treated worse than Egyptian fellahs at the beginning of the 20th century. This is shameful to us as Albanians. One thing. Second thing, why does not counter-terrorist police act? Of course, they are non-existent now. Their names, their salaries, their identification numbers, their telephones, their addresses, their email addresses, their registration, the registration of their cars, of their family members, everything has become public. So their morale is down, down, down. The best they can do is to harass poor Muslims praying at the mosque. This is the best they can do. They can send poor Muslims to prison, yes, allegedly having a knife or a bayonet and things like this. But they can do nothing more. They can send to judge, to court, a Muslim who was recording a police operation, allegedly violating the law, which is stupid, but they can do no more than this. Muslims are fair game for them. I mean, Muslim worshippers, not just one whose parents were Muslims. Muslims are fair game for them, Muslim worshippers. So
yes.
This is the problem is that we are creating security problems even to the other members of NATO. This is the problem. We are exporting security problems, not exporting security, exporting risk. And I hope somebody will understand it. I'm speaking as an Albanian patriot. I don't care about the personal fate of Premier Rama. I don't care. He can sleep in his villa in Suret. He can go and sleep to the villa of his old friend, Shamir Peza. This is his personal choice. I don't care about him. I care about my Albanians because I strongly believe I am an Albanian patriot. I hope Premier Rama will come to a decision. There is no free lunch. We could not have a free lunch by hosting a bunch of ex-terrorists to Albania. As far as I know, this agreement for them coming to Albania includes also a clause about their de-radicalization. Instead of de-radicalization of MEC members, we have them changed into an army to fight a war which does not belong to us. Why? We are a small and rather poor country. We have no bone of contention with Iran. If we want to fight, we can fight against the Serbs, the Greeks. Iranians, Persians, in 2,000 years of history has done nothing to Illyrian tribes or to Arbors or to Albanians. Greeks and Serbs are something else. Instead of protecting ourselves against our neighbors, we want to pick a bone, we want to fight against Iran. Come on. And when the time comes to pay the price, the Premier does not want to pay the price. He will pay the price. He has to think twice.
Yes. In a TV, Gjergji, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, in a TV debate which I took part, I think, when was it? In September, I think, or in October, with the security advisor of the ex-Prime Minister Salih Berisha. In this debate that I took part, this security advisor to Prime Minister Berisha told us in the debate that for the coming of the MEC in 2015, Edi Rama offered himself to the Americans. So he approached the Americans and in a way volunteered to take the Mojahedeens in the country. Now, when Edi Rama and his half crazy MP, Pandeli Maiko, when they became the...
Oh, please, be serious. Be
Okay,
serious.
okay.
Okay. And no, Pandeli Michael, please be serious.
So
We are talking serious.
So you think he's very smart, or he's not?
No, he's a buffon.
He's a buffon. Okay.
He's a gesture. You know, called gesture from the medieval times. He's a gesture. So buffon. The French word.
So
He is over 50 years old, but he has remained a préduqué. The French call him préduqué or whippersnapper in English. Come on, enough with my.
So let me get to the point. So when Edi Rama and Pandeli Maiko, they offered themselves to the Americans for hosting the MEC, the initial, I mean, what I was told in this TV debate that I took part was that the reason for Rama to do this was because he wanted to have some contacts with US officials in order to sell himself to the Americans like somebody who is important and who can do anything that a son of a bitch can do for his master. Now, what I have seen in the last interviews of Edi Rama, especially with the massive hacking attack that Albania is going through, is that Rama seems too desperate. As I mentioned at the beginning of this discussion with you, he went to Strasbourg at the European Union asking for their help. They didn't give anything. He went to the Americans, and Americans told to Rama, okay, you took the Mojahedeens, so you do anything you want. So Rama is bringing always this issue that, look, we fought for America. We hosted the Mojahedeens because America told us to host them. But now that we're being damaged because of the Mojahedeens, nobody's helping us. As a desperate man that Rama is, he went even to Israel, where he was received by the Prime Minister and the President, Isaac Herzog. Well, there in Israel, Rama was in a way priding himself, showing himself like the hero of the Jews, like the prime minister of these good Albanians who saved all the Jews. And of course, he complained to Israelis about Iran. But you know the story. Israelis, they never give you money. They only take money from you. So in my opinion, in this moment, he feels himself somehow like Saddam Hussein. When the American ambassador Delespez told to Saddam that we have no problem if Saddam goes to war against Kuwait, and later he was faced with the American bombing. And I have a feeling that Rama is somehow in the shoes of Saddam Hussein in this moment. He feels a bit used, a bit betrayed, because Saddam Hussein was also used by the Americans in the Iran-Iraq war, when the Americans and Saudis and everyone put him to fight against Iran. And I have a feeling that Rama is a bit desperate now. What do you think about that?
I will publicly and humbly advise Premier Rama to imitate, to copy what President of South Vietnam, Nguyen Van Thieu did. When the Americans left him in the lurch, he published secret letters he had received from a couple of American presidents who solemnly pledged to support him in his fight against communism. Nguyen Van Thieu ended his career by running running away from Vietnam, and communists conquered Saigon, present-day Washington DC. So I appeal to Premier Rama to make public the agreement for the MAC to come to Albania. Make it public. You, Mr. Premier, have your, or I better say, your ally let you in the lurch. Make that agreement public. At least this. Try to save yourself relying on your own efforts. Don't try to protect Albanians from harm. You cannot do it. But try to protect yourself. They have let you in the lurch. Take my word for it, please, Mr. Premier. Make public the agreement, just like Nguyen Van Thieu made public several letters written by a couple of American presidents to him, Johnson and Nixon. So this is it.
Gjergji, my final question to you. If you were to be in the shoes of Edi Rama in this moment.
Oh, I pray God not to be.
Yeah, but
God.
Whereby the Americans gave you these 3,000 Mojahedeens who are in your country. Now you tell to the Mojahedeens, stop your terrorist activity from my country, but they don't give a shit about you and they still continue with their job. On the other hand, you have your state security agencies, which are in a way discredited by the hackers. You have the Secret Service. All the names of your spies have been made public. You live with a fear that the hackers probably they might release even the names of the
collaborators
with the Secret Service and counterterrorism.
Not only this, even videos in the offices of ministers, deputy ministers, director generals, etc. Very interesting.
Exactly. I mean, you suspect that probably hackers, they even entered in your laptops and they even took videos of you when you or your ministers do orgies and do, I don't know, whatever.
I didn't say this. I didn't say this. I didn't say this. You said it.
We don't know. I said it, and we are free as intellectuals to guess on anything. But so I'm asking you a question, pretending, asking if you were to be in the shoes of Edi Rama. So you live with this fear that these hackers, they have hacked everything of your government, and they can, because look, if you see the strategy that the hackers are following with the government of Edi Rama is that at first they were asking him, can you please, in a way, isolate these Mojahedeens from attacking Iran? And while Rama, with his arrogance, told to them, no, I don't care for you, I am with NATO, everything, then we have these massive leaks. And if you see the strategy of the hackers, they leak their information every week or every 10 days, more or less. So
no. Excuse me. The strategy has changed. There are more frequent leaks. Maybe the hackers are paving the way for the protest of the opposition on November 12th.
Maybe, because even Rama accuses the opposition of being with the mullahs, with the ayatollahs of Tehran and with the rublas of Moscow. Maybe, we don't know that. Now, coming again to the question, so pretending that you'll be in the shoes of Edi Rama, so you have a mysterious hacking group which is every week exposing your government to the media and the public. They are revealing to the public how corrupt you are, how you steal money, how you misuse the taxes of the Albanians, how you have a private charter, while, let us say, the head of the European Union, he doesn't have a private charter, but you move like a sheikh with your private charter, which costs millions to the taxpayers of Albania. And then you have these hackers which are, in a way, discrediting your secret service, your counterterrorism police. And then you have these Mojahedeens who continue their business as usual. And then you have the Americans, for whom you made all this adventure, with the security of your country by hosting the Mojahedeens, that they're not helping you. They're simply abandoning you like they did with Marcos or with Saddam Hussein. And what will you do, Gjergji, if you were to be Edi Rama in this moment?
Well, first of all, I will not consider an Albanian NGO as my enemy. First, I will make good use of this NGO to find a modus vivendi with those hackers who caught me with my underwear down. Figurative way of speaking. This is the only way. This is called damage control. He should try to do some damage control. If the ex-terrorists of MEK continue with their activities, especially if they continue with activities which cause destruction and death in Tehran, he should find a modus vivendi, because he will pay a personal price, not only us Albanians who cannot apply for a passport. This is something else. He will pay personal price. He might lose not only his royal throne, because he is not a premier, he is the ruler of Albania, but he might lose it. Nobody knows. Nobody. Albanians are unpredictable. Imagine Berisha in November 1996, he ruled Albania, he was a ruler, not just a president. Imagine Berisha in March 1997, he was nobody, with 50 persons, armed persons in the premises of the presidents and nothing else. So he should find a modus vivendi. He should not consider NGO Asida as his enemy. He should consider MEK presence in Mazas as a security threat to Albania and as a personal security threat to his rule, because he is not a part of government of Albania. He is the ruler of Albania. We should call a spade, not to speak politically correct. So he should find the ways of means to engage himself in damage control activities. Otherwise, he will pay the price. And I'm not blackmailing him. I am making a public call to him to help him. I am trying to help the poor soul. Just like in September 2010, when I helped him about something very important, the same thing I'm doing now. I'm trying to help the poor soul. He has to find modus vivendi with the hackers and who is backing the hackers. Otherwise, the price he has paid up to now will be insignificant compared to the price he personally will. And this is not blackmail. It is the reality. It is reality. You cannot evade reality. You have to face reality. You have to, how can I say, to face reality. He doesn't want to face reality. He makes propaganda. He tells blatant lies. For example, in Iraq, agents of Iran were killing women and children in the camp of the Mojahedeens. It was strictly prohibited by the Rajavi cult to have kids in the camp. Even those who had families, they divorced wives, and the kids were sent to America, to Canada, to Europe to be in foster homes or foster parents and things like this. So it was just a lie. Come on, Albanians. Or he, the premier, blackmailed Ambassador Kim. Help me, or I'll show that you have relations with MK, because US and the secret ends, they have nothing to do with MK. He just copied me. I do not want to be modest. When I had that court case with one of MK commanders, what was his name? Safari, Exat Safari, I blackmailed the US embassy. because a lieutenant colonel, retired lieutenant colonel of American military police, had written an affidavit to my court that U.S. embassy had direct links with MEK camp. And I sent a letter to the embassy. He has given this affidavit. I will cross-examine him at court, and he will speak in detail about the connection of U.S. embassy with Ashraf III camp, MEK camp. Next time, the lawyers of the defendant, the Iranian commander, told the judge that we do not want to have our witnesses at court and things like this. We withdraw all their affidavits and things like this. So my blackmail was successful. He is trying to blackmail the U.S. embassy. It's of no avail. No dollars will be received. He will receive only lip service protection, lip service support, just like now. Imagine USA sanctions dozens of VIPs in Iran. They will have their money seized, their property seized, their company seized. They have no money, no properties, no securities or shares in American companies. What will they lose? Nothing. So it was an empty sanction. It was lip service support to Rama. Imagine if the government of New Zealand sanctions me, they will seize all my money in banks in New Zealand, all my property there, all my shares in companies in New Zealand. I have nothing. No money, no real estate there, no securities, no bonds, no shares, no stocks, no nothing. So it is an empty threat. It's an empty threat. Up to now, he has received only lip service. We are paying. Yes, we are paying. For example, the port of Turus paid to Jones International, the company owned by that four-star retired general, English general, a lot of money to have a seminar about cybersecurity, etc. One of the persons sent by Jones International to have that seminar with members of with the employees of the port of Turus was an non-commissioned officer or junior officer of Coast Guard. His expertise, maximum expertise, was how to use VHF and nothing else. And this would train the personnel, the employees of Turus port to protect them, to protect themselves, to protect their net against cyber threats. Bullshit. But we paid good dollars for that bullshit. So he has to find a modus vivendi. He has been left in the lurch. I'm ready to go to court and to explain in detail what I am saying. It is not for his sake, though I pity the Prime Minister, it is for the sake of the Albanian people. Albanians should not pay anymore for the miscalculations of a pampered child called Edi Rama. No, we are not that rich to pay for his whimsical behavior. Absolutely no. That's it.
Gjergji, thank you very much for this interview. Your voice was horrible, the worst interview we ever had. The topic is very interesting. I hope, inshallah, to have you again in another discussion when you find a better internet. Because, I mean, your voice is cutting, but I hope that all the people who are going to listen to our conversation, they'll have a very hard time. Of course, Albanian Secret Service, the government, they will suffer like a hell. I mean, the counterterrorism police, when they will try to figure out what you were saying here. But in general, the discussion was understood. So to make a summary for our viewers who are going to see this video from all over the world, what we tried to discuss with Gjergji in this discussion was the critical situation in which Albania is at the moment. Since September 2022, many government agencies which operate online, they are not functioning fully. The Albanian state is under constant cyber attack. A group of hackers who have hacked state institutions is revealing state secrets every week or even often, as Gjergji said. And we have a big crisis going on in Albania. This crisis was caused by the Prime Minister of Albania himself and his government, which in 2016 accepted to host a terrorist organization in Albania, the Mojahedeens and Olsi. These people, since their relocation to Albania, they have created a paramilitary camp in the town of Manza, from where they carry cyber but even direct military attacks against Islam, the Islamic Republic of Iran. And the payback, it probably is coming for Albania, the cyber attacks, and there are even claims about probably even a military conflict between Iran and Albania. We don't know what will happen in the future, and Allah knows what the future has. But at this very moment, our Prime Minister, Edi Rama, seems very desperate. The Americans, the Europeans didn't help him. And he got only very good words from Israel, of course. Israelis, they don't give money. So the situation is very desperate, but is even very interesting. Albania has entered into a conflict which was never part of it. And the entrance of Albania into this conflict between the West on the one hand and Iran came out of a political adventure of Prime Minister Edi Rama. So we discussed with Gjergji Thanasi the situation. We discussed the critical situation of the security services in Albania and the general stupidity of the Albanian government, which doesn't understand what they put Albania into. Albania is in a deep mess, and Allah knows how it will end. There are many predictions, like even Gjergji mentioned, that the security situation of Albania is not very good because security agencies are being exposed, the informants are being exposed. Is a major scandal, which fortunately is not being publicized a lot in the West because Edi Rama has some very good connections. He came to power supported by George Soros. He's a personal guy of George Soros, and George Soros and a group of his bankers, in a way, they treat Edi Rama as their man, and for this reason, he keeps getting protection from these bankers who need to use Edi Rama and Albania for their dirty dealings. Gjergji, do you have anything else before I close?
You pray to Allah, I pray to my Jesus Christ that Jesus protects Albania from that whimsical premier of ours. Thank you very much.
Amin ya Rabbi. Okay, friends from all over the world, thank you for watching this interesting discussion. I have to ask for your pardon for the technical difficulties. I keep on telling to Gjergji to find a better internet. He doesn't listen to me. Thank you very much. Salam alaikum.